All right. And that sound means it's the start of the 83rd Missile for the Masses. This is the Chaplain's Assistance Motorpod. And I'm your host, Gary. And with me is
Casey.
from Podcast from the Pit. Casey, thanks for joining us again, or joining me again. And this is the podcast centered around the vehicles, playsets, and even trailers of the G.I. Joe Real American Hero toy line from 1982 to the present day, and also centered around the comic books of G.I. Joe and related properties like the Energon universe. And sometimes we also feature figures and other military and adventure toy lines and comic books. So, Casey, good evening. It's been a while. How are you doing tonight? What have you been up to?
Uh, just podcast from the pit stuff, live streams on Saturdays, except for today. Eric, Hillbilly Harper, came all the way to Indiana, and the three of us went toy hunting at a few of my favorite toy stores around us, and actually did some video of one of them, so that'll be coming out pretty soon. And it was just a nice time. We don't get to see each other except for online, so it was nice. It was a lot of fun. I didn't even get anything. I got stuff at my comic book store, but it was fun. Yeah.
Well, sometimes you window shop, you get inspired.
Yeah.
Been listening to podcasts from the pit, and you going through all the years of stuff you haven't collected, and finding things that you are interested in.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun doing a lot of research, hitting 3D Joes, of course. Lots of great information there, and just doing my homework for years that I was out of Joe, and there's a lot of hidden gems there that I've missed.
Yeah, just talking offline earlier. I really enjoyed 1990. It was really interesting to see, what you guys were discovering. 1990 was was a year I was still collecting, but I wasn't like really into it. 1990s, one of my in between years. So I was really big during the Sunbow era, and then Sunbow ended, so I didn't get all the toys. And then when I started reading the comics in 1991, the comics inspired me to buy more toys. So I think it's really cool, you guys discovering this stuff, and a lot of things you guys don't have. So, more power to you guys. Keep it up. You're doing a great job over there.
Yeah, we've been really lucky to have Mr. Ronnie Trickshot on a lot of these later episodes, because he's 10 years younger than me, and these are his prime years for Joe. So it's nice to see that enthusiasm for figures that he had as a kid that I've never seen, never had any interest in. And it's nice. It's like talking to me about 80s Joes. It was before his time, but it was my prime years. And it's just great to see how other people collect, how they've collected. And we don't know what we're going to do when we get past 94. I guess we can continue, because they did make Joes, or we might switch it up and go to the modern style.
You guys, you don't want to cover the big shoulder era?
We might. We might, really, because there is a few of those figures that I have and that I like, and half the fun is trying to come up with 5 figures out of a set that you don't really want any of them. So you got to pick your 5 favorites of just stuff you don't really like. It's fun.
Yeah, no, but the big shoulder era, notable, the biggest character I think that came out of the big shoulder era was Bomb Strike.
Got her. Yeah,
and and there's a couple others, but she's, to me, the most notable one. I mean, you had Barrel Roll, you had the weird version of Overkill, the cyborg Overkill that was actually the Saw Viper. You know, it was just, you know, there's some, yeah, those gems are really
Yeah.
really hidden, and you got all the
Well,
O-ring repaints.
right. Yeah. No, there's plenty of stuff to do, plenty of stuff to talk about. Joe has kept us busy, and it's a lot of fun. If anybody has not checked us out, you know you should. It's we're a lighthearted kind of podcast. No drama, just fun. You know, if you like talking Joes and listening about Joes, check us out.
Well, a little bit of a segue, but you know, your podcast and my podcast are going to be at Joe Fest in Augusta,
Yep.
Georgia this June. And, you know, I think it's exciting because Ed put out the call for Podcasts Live. And I saw that and I got in. And Casey?
Yeah, definitely. I'd been talking to Ed since Joe Fest last year. He was always telling me, yeah, you know, because we were actually going to pay for a table, and he's like, no, we're going to do something for podcasts. So just, you know, he had some thoughts. I don't even know what all the thoughts are yet, but it's
Yeah,
going to be fun.
I'm guess I'm in. I have to correspond with him a little bit more. But yeah, it's actually pretty cool to, you know, I'm obviously I was going to see you anyway, but now we're going to be kind of
Mm-hmm.
sharing space and maybe collaborating and actually recording at the show. You know, not bleary eyed. You know,
Right? Yeah, I'm bringing my stuff this year.
so yeah. So all right, so that's pretty good. Are you ready to dig into the meat of Larry Hama's continuing G.I. Joe verse, G.I. Joe, Real American Hero?
I am. Yes. I'd say the two issues we're doing tonight. I really enjoyed both of them.
Oh, well, I got to say that um, all the chess moving, you know, how Larry likes to put the pieces together. And I was really thinking about this the past week since we decided on the topic, you know, got tonight open to record. And I was really thinking about how Larry's writing style, especially after reading 311. And I really think he's been under editorial direction for these 5-issue arcs because Larry likes to usually write tight stories. Or at least that's what I feel because, you know, IDW doing those special missions one shots, I loved every single one of them. Nice, tight, single issue formats. And, you know, and then reflecting back onto the original Real American Hero run, triggered by something that Steven said on Joburg, was, you know, Larry would have, you know, these 2-issue arcs. You know, you have 3 stories going. One's beginning, one's in the middle of the action, and one's ending. And it was tight and it rotated through. You know, they were interwoven until like a big event like the invasion of Springfield or the Cobra Island Civil War. And it worked really well because that allowed him to feature the new toys that Hasbro's like, you know,
Right.
we want to see the Persuader and we want to see Battle Force 2000. And Larry's like, but we have this really great story centered around Snake Eyes and Scarlet and Storm Shadow and Stalker and, you know, Zartan and Destro. But he had that story, but he balanced it and it worked really well. But that was also at a time where you sold by the comic, you didn't sell by the story arc.
Right.
And these 2 issues were, to me, like the Cobra Island Civil War was probably my favorite example right now, because it was just like so action packed, and each book was like you picked it up, and I felt like I read a whole comic again. Like this is a good book. I knew where I was. It didn't spend a lot of time being, explaining things, getting me to up to date. It was like, boom, here's the action. We're going to fill you in along the way. And each issue did that. And it was like G.I. Joe at its best. And was really happy to, read these books and, do the story synopsis and talk about it tonight.
Yeah. And I love the art too. That's I love seeing the use of like old school Joe and Cobra vehicles. And I'm a troop builder, so I love seeing all the different troopers they have in here. I think, Hamaverse for Skybound started off a little bit slow, I thought, but I'm really it's right there where I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, that's what I've always said. This is a book that is like comfort food. It's just, even when it's not the best, it's still good. It's still like I still want it.
How many times is Springfield going to go through this?
But it's not. But that's the great thing about Springfield. I think the first Springfield was Springfield, Vermont, and I think he's been moving Springfields. Almost every state has a Springfield.
Right.
But I wish he'd return to Rancho Cobra Acres in California, where Dawn came out of. I would just like to see. Let's go back there for a story or two. It'd be fun, callback. But yeah, so I think our excitement is going to lend well, and I think it's going to give a little bit away of what we're going to talk about these issues at the end. But Casey, do you have 310 in front of you, the cover? And do you want to, this is video, but we're also doing an audio. Would you like to describe to the audience what you're seeing on the cover, please, sir?
Well, I see Cobra Commander fighting with Zartan with the Baroness behind him. Looks like she's not sure who she wants to shoot, but most likely Cobra Commander.
Or she looks pissed
Cobra
off
Commander.
at him.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's Andy Kubert, right? I don't have my glasses on. Yeah. He does great covers. And the battle, Cobra Commander has the battle action armor, which always brings me back to Fred 7.
Yep.
And it's almost like how just looks cool.
Yeah. It's this, they talk about like covers that could be sold as, art prints. I'd buy it. If Andy Kubert sets up a table anywhere and I'm there, if this was one of his prints, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
I like how he made Cobra Commander like toy accurate. He's got the backpack. He's got the right pistol. I think fans of Cobra Commander version 3 are through the moon with this depiction. I like the Uzi that Zartan's firing. So, it almost seems like, this is one of those ones where Larry probably provided a sketch to Andy, like, this is what I think the cover should look like. And then Andy just ran with it and just,
he did a great job.
This is a good start.
Yeah. Makes you want to open it up and read it.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what the better part is, for a lot of people's litmus tests like mine, this is a cover of something inside the book, we'll say. It's representative of what's going on in G.I. Joe 310. So I'll go over the story synopsis, the plot synopsis, and go over the credits. We have Larry Hama, of course, the writer. We have this as Paul Pelletier on pencil and Tony Cordos on inks. Now, this is their last issue. They're going to, with the return of Chris Mooneyham, the next issue. And we have Francesco Segala, the colorist, Sabrina Del Grasso, the flatter. We have Pat Brousseau, the letterer, Alex Antone, editor, Jillian Crabb, publication design, Ashby Florence, production design, and Diana Davis, creative consultant. We open issue 310 with Cobra Commander supervising the battle in Springfield behind the scenes and a Crimson Guardsman impersonating him in his 1987 battle armor. He's given the order to blow away Zartan, his dreadnoughts, and the Baroness. So, and we pick up from the tense moment last issue, and Dawn chooses to rescue the cop that killed her parents from the burning police car. Serpentor Khan is on his way to personally supervise the invasion of Springfield. On the way, they pass over the G.I. Joe recon team on their way back to the United States mainland with Dr. Mindbender and a frozen clone of the original Serpentor. That was a little expository. Anyway, Serpentor Khan dispatches a Night Raven to Deep Six them. The Zodiac is sunk, but everyone survives. And fortunately, the preservation unit for the Serpentor clone floats. So the CG Coco shoots the Baroness, and the Dreadnoks retaliate. Great scene with Road Pig, by the way. The imposter commander is rescued by Cobra forces as he's getting beaten up. The Dreadnoks get the Thunder Machine working again and head to the ER for Baroness. Scarlet and the Ninja Recon team are happy with Dawn's saving of the Cobra cop. But the cop is annoyed by Dawn's moral superiority. He draws his pistol to shoot her in the back, but gets blown away by attacking cyborg mutants. The ninja team is successfully fighting them off when Zartan pulls up and offers a truce so they can all get to an ER and save the Baroness. Zartan manages to get a message off to Destro, who quickly resolves to get his Iron Grenadiers and himself to Springfield, where Cobra Commander currently is thinking everything is going to plan, luring the cyborg zombies into his trap.
Yeah,
so,
old school Joe stories.
Yeah, old school. You got 4 threads, but the other thing too about those 4 threads is there's action. It's not,
yes.
Oh, here we're at the pit and we're discussing what we're seeing on the big screen. It's like, no, this is 4 groups assessing situations, taking action. It is, like you said, this is return to form for the stories and the G.I. Joe Real American Hero experience. So it's really good. I'll start off with something I liked. I really liked Paul Pelletier's art again.
Mm-hmm.
I think he really captures the characters and the forms. He's a good draftsman. So you can follow the panel work. It is something that it fits the style and it fits the story. And, it's very, like I would say, it's very house style, like Marvel in the 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, he does a great job. The story just flows. Not a lot of wasted space. Even like when the recon team's on the raft and Helix is just rowing the raft. I mean, deep in conversation with Mindbender. He's great facial features. I really like him. And he draws a really nice Night Raven.
Yeah, no, he's very technically capable of doing things. And because a lot of artists will say drawing vehicles, like the Battle Wagon.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard because you have perspective and the angles disappear into the line. And that can be more challenging than drawing, humans because, they're living things and they're not, not as exact. So I think his way of getting emotion, like you were saying, Helix and Dr. Mindbender, I mean, her expression on the face. Yeah, it's just, she looks annoyed at him, rightfully so.
And in the eyes of the Cobra Commander when he shoots the Baroness, a lot of action in just those eyes because you can't see his face because of the mask. Just a fantastic job.
Yeah, and I think we spoke. You got to give props to Larry on the story again.
Mm-hmm.
He's back in that sweet spot. This is Hama has all the pieces set up, and he's just rolling through. And he's using all the characters. I think he listened to your 1989 episode and just was like, "Oh yeah, we totally got to use these Vipers." The Return of the Heat Viper and the Frag Viper is just they were never used in the original run. I mean, they were very limited use, but
yeah, it's fantastic. And so since you said Frag Viper, probably a classified figure I will have to buy when it comes out because everything I've seen on it looks great. And I don't buy a lot of classified.
Yeah, the Frag Viper, I mean, that's the hard part about classified is they do such a good job on every character. Mm-hmm. It becomes again, where do you start? Where do you stop again?
My rule is I have to really want it. Out of the last 20 figures they've released, I've got one. It was Iron Grenadier because I really wanted it.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I keep from just going crazy and buying them all. I don't have the space. And most of the time, I've already got the figure I want in a 3 3/4. So, but that Frag Viper, it looks really good. So I will get that one.
So, yeah, the other thing too going on, I'll mention. I mean, other than really the Dawn storyline with her rescuing the cop, every character's actions were because like she kind of that story. What turned me off on that storyline was there's when she returns to the group, and Scarlett's like, "Oh yay, you did a good job. You rescued the cop. You're a good person," and that just seemed uncharacteristic for the scene.
Yeah.
I think I think her saving the cop did not need to be reinforced.
Right. It should have just been, she did the right thing. Let's just move on. No, I get that.
But his comeuppance at the end was
got what he deserved.
Yeah, but that was like a chef's kiss moment. It was like, yes, good. But it was but other than that, nothing really seemed contrived at all in this book. And I don't know, Cobra Commander is devious. His replacement on the field, the CG is, almost like tactician level. Like a very strong CG is like, where was this guy before? Like this guy himself, I hope, turns into a character that we carry forward.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying his character.
And another frame I really love is when the Thunder Machine pulls up and they're just mowing down those cyborg. Are they cyborgs or mutants? What are we calling them? Mutants?
There's supposed to be cyborg mutants, but I think it's supposed to be cyborg zombie mutants, but they got rid of the zombie thing because, I don't know, gets a little tongue-tied, like, always saying Serpentor-Con.
Yeah.
But I'm doing the review, right? I'm writing up the plot synopsis. And I'm like, okay, how do I talk? It's like, well, okay, so one is Serpentor-Con and the corpse is Serpentor clone. So it's not quite as bad as Alpha 0001, but it's a little clunky, but I don't care. It's a comic book. I can live with it.
But watching those twin Gatling guns in the front just mow them down, it reminded me of the episode we did on it. And we were talking about how we would do that.
Yeah, no, the Thunder Machine's great. I mean, you can't. I mean, this was just a good book.
Mhm.
You know, we rate things on a scale of 0 to 5. You know, using quarter scales. Where would you put GI Joe 310? Where would you rate it?
I would give it a solid 4.25. And I love that last page where Destro's getting involved. It's a great book from first page to last page, and made you. I had to wait an extra couple weeks or at least an extra week to get this because I didn't go up to my shop in time. Well worth the wait. Just, I love the story where it's at, and I can't wait to see how it finishes up and he moves on to the next story arcs that he's wanting to work on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm going to be higher than you. On my reread, I really, really enjoyed it. It's like, to me, it's a 4.5.
Yeah.
It was hitting all the notes. The story's great, art's great. It's a 4.5 out of 5. You know, it was just a pleasure to read, and really not much more to say than to go into the next book, GI Joe 311, that just came out this Wednesday, which is one reason why we're talking about GI Joe Real American Hero this Saturday night. And would you like to take the audience through the cover?
Well, the cover is another Andy Kubert, and it's the Thunder Machine barreling straight at you, guns ablazing. You got the Dreadnoks, you got Zartan holding can't see the blood, but obviously a wounded Baroness. It's action. You got Road Pig getting ready to sledgehammer somebody with that cinder block. Thrasher, he's just knuckled down. It's great looking, and a preview of what's inside, which is the best part.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to point out that, Xandar is on the cover. When was the last time we saw Xandar on a cover?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just another 100% beautiful cover. If you're a Dreadnought lover, if you're a, this has everything. It has drama, it has action. It's just absolutely beautiful. You see the Dreadnought firing the automatic weapon underneath the automatic rifle underneath Buzzer. That's Zanzibar.
Yeah.
Because he has the black ponytail. I'm looking at that as you're describing. I'm like, who's that? Who's that Dreadnought? Who's that Dreadnought? I was like, oh my gosh. So not only do we have Xandar on the cover, we got Zanzibar.
Which, yeah, he didn't get a whole lot of love out of the original series.
No, he's in some of in the 80s when Dreadnoughts fought Battle Force 2000.
He was on the McFarlane cover, right?
Yeah, and he's on the McFarlane cover,
yeah.
issue 60. Yeah. So that's his most notable appearance, is the McFarlane issue. But yeah, no, it's you can't go wrong with Andy. Andy Cooper's just knocking that out of the park. You can definitely tell. He's like, he's doing it for more than just, he's getting paid for these, but he's enjoying every minute of drawing these things. I love it. Skybound, keep him on as long as you can.
Now, his dad did a lot of the Sergeant Rock covers, right?
Yes. His dad is a legend in the Big Five Army from DC. So yeah, no, it's so all right. Yeah, so the cover's great. Another great cover. And let's talk a little bit about what happens in this book. It's a lot happens in these pages. So the story, the writer is by Larry Hama. Chris Mooneyham returns as the artist. And I'm going to talk about the art a little bit after this.
Okay.
Francesco Segala is the colorist. Sabrina Del Grosso is the flatter. Pat Brosseau is the letterer. Alex Antone is the editor. Jillian Crabb, publication design. Richard Mercado, production design. And Diana Davis, creative consultant. So 311 has the Crimson Guardsman Cobra Commander. Henceforth, I'm going to just refer to him as CG Coco, just because I'm
There
not
we
going
go.
to pronounce it all the time. Executing good military strategy to be convincing to the invading cyborg mutant army, being led by the mutant Frag Viper to get into the kill zone. The real Cobra Commander springs the trap with his Air Force decimating Serpentor's Khan's forces. Meanwhile, Zartan and his ever-enlarging entourage arrive at Springfield General Hospital, and he presents the Baroness to get her into the ER. And they offer him no resistance, all the Vipers there. Back to the commander's plan, the Cobra Air Force continues when all of a sudden they are attacked out of the air by the now arrived Serpentor Khan and his Air Force. They drop the cyborgs, and Serpi Khan leads by arriving on a claw and immediately assessing the feigning retreat and turning around and inspiring his troops to make it a real retreat. Back at the hospital, now inside, Zartan isn't getting the immediate assistance that he was hoping for with the Baroness, so he turns into Cobra Commander and orders the Baroness to get help. Serpentor presses on and with his reinforcements overwhelms Cobra Commander's original plan. A Televiper offers an idea, but the commander nixes that because it would make Cobra Commander even more vulnerable. Serpentor continues to lead, but now he's under attack. By who? None other than Destro, who begins his own full-scale assault on Springfield, leading in his despoiler, and Casey would approve because
Yes.
they were also piloted by Iron Grenadiers. So we had a little flotilla of despoilers. The commander is wondering, is Destro on his side again? The Televiper reminds Cobra Commander who ordered the Baroness shot in the first place. And then we end with Destro facing off against Serpentor. Casey, take me away. What did you like about this book?
Everything. It was fantastic. And I think we was talking about last issue. We were talking about the War for Cobra Island. This has that same feel. You have the three parties out there now. You got Joe, actually four maybe. You got Cobra, you got Serpentor Khan, and now Destro's there. Who's fighting who? Everybody's fighting everybody. And the intrigue is there. The art is beautiful. I'm sitting here looking at a frame that has a Hiss tank, Crimson Guard, Cobra Commander, and two Rattlers. It's great. Then the next frame, the Hiss tank's just getting shredded. Every panel, it's perfectly laid out. The story is great. Lots and lots of action. I love the Mambas. Everything. And I like how Cobra Commander looks like the Cobra Commander from, with the beret and the mustache and the ponytail.
Beatnik
That's
Cobra
such a nice
Commander.
callback. Yeah. Love it. Because that's my Cobra Commander.
So if you're listening in Super 7 or Hasbro, what we need is either a classified or O-ring Beatnik Cobra Commander. Casey would buy at least a 6-pack of them. And
O-ring it up.
O-ring it up. Of course. Well, we all, with our collections, we would love O-ring, but I wouldn't say no to classified. Like Dawn Moreno comes out in O-ring and classified, I'm buying both. I'm just saying.
Oh, you have to.
But yeah, no, I want to talk a little bit about Chris Mooneyham. I was happy to see him back.
Me too.
But it was also
nothing against the last guy. The last guy's
what I
great.
mean, you could tell they're different in respect to Chris Mooneyham is more stylized. His characters become larger than life. He exaggerates the character's form for effect in the story, where Paul Pelletier kept the form but used facial features and body language to express drama. So they're doing the same thing I felt in different ways.
Right.
You know, I would say Mooneyham is a little more indie, where Paul Pelletier is more house. Paul Pelletier's style reminds me of like a Rod Wiggum almost, where Mooneyham is a little more, I hate, you know, without really a lot of reference for me from Image, but it just comes across as that, Todd McFarlane type, or maybe not Jim Lee, but maybe a little more Mark Silvestri. And just in that way. But one thing that I really do appreciate is the layouts that Chris Mooneyham does. Is he's pretty inventive with the layouts, and like I said, it's nothing against Paul Pelletier's,
Oh,
but Mooneyham's layouts also convey drama and flow as well. Uh, you know, it's 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 like peanut butter and chocolate. I love them both. I love them both separately. I love them both together. It's or ice cream. There's 51 flavors of ice cream, and I love them all. So yeah, no, good choice. Pulling on those panels, man.
And I also want to point out, if Super 7 listens to this, the Cobra Troop carrier helicopter. I got to have one of those. I mean, it's long enough.
Yeah,
I
seriously.
want one.
So yeah, that honestly, I know they shot the moon with the Cobra mothership, which is great, but yeah, the Cobra transport copter, an official release of that,
That would be amazing.
I think Hasbro doesn't realize how wanted it really is.
Yeah. You talk to anybody that loves O-Ring, loves G.I. Joe. What's the one thing you want? I want the Cobra helicopter transport.
Out of a lot of 1980s properties, I have to say, there's a lot of love for the comic books of Transformers and He-Man and stuff like that. But I don't think there's a rabid fan base for the comic book like G.I. Joe.
No.
I think G.I. Joe is very unique in that respect. And not negating. I just think it's just the comic book is so huge for G.I. Joe. It's the reason why we're getting 311 of a continuing story, which is really, and I without getting off, but it's really, I still feel bad for the way Devil's Due got done,
Yes.
And I know why they closed off, but I don't think anybody ever expected Hama to return to this either. So,
yeah, I honestly believe that the Devil's Due stuff is very underrated.
Oh yeah. It's I enjoyed it when it came out, and I do a little bit of a reread. I listen to the Long Box Crusade, and they do their review of the Devil's Due. I keep pace with them. I know Talking Joe just is finishing up theirs. And I haven't really kept up with their Devil's Due run because I'm keeping pace with Long Box. But yeah, it's just like on the reread, it's just like it holds up. It's good.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And but okay, going back, I really liked in this book the use of all the different vehicles as a vehicle collector. I just like, whereas the previous issues, he really was using the characters and the Vipers to their specialties and stuff. This book, as a toy guy featuring all these different vehicles, really just was. I loved it. It was just like, ooh, there's the claw. I haven't seen the claw in use in a while, and you got the stingers, you got the hiss. Now, when I looked at the hisses, they seem to be colored, especially in the first couple pages. They had that light blue color, which is like, when comic books will use that to lighten up a black.
Mm-hmm.
And, for a while, I was hoping they were hiss twos, which you don't have yet.
No.
But you will, when you get one, you will see why it is so awesome. And, but just the Mambas, like you said, I just like everything was logical. Everything served the story, and nothing felt contrived.
The only thing missing is a maggot.
Yeah. Well, remember a few issues ago, the recon team demolished them. I think they sabotaged them.
Maybe. I don't know. It's been a while since I've read it.
Yeah. I mean, there was a bit of a gap between 311 and 310. I was holding off 310 because I was like, well, we're doing, 4 issues with the Energon universe weeks ago. but I was holding off for this issue, and I'm glad I did.
It's great.
And, you got something else you want to talking point?
I love the 3 panels where Zartan is changing into Cobra Commander. That is very well done. First panel is Zartan. Second one is half Zartan. Third one's all Cobra Commander. It just looks so good.
Yeah,
then he starts talking to the nurse about, speeding up and checking out the Baroness.
Yeah. I liked the fact that Hama had the recurring theme of, they got the battle going on, then Serpentor swoops in and changes the game. And then, so that was like the first third was the opening, second third was Serpentor attacks, and now the final act of this book is Destro attacks.
Yeah.
That was, and Destro is facing off at the end. He has beef with Serpentor Khan.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know what's said in the message from Zartan to Destro last issue. You just know that from the gist, because you don't see, the Baroness got shot. Right. And you don't know if Destro knows that it was Cobra Commander. But he's ready to throw down with Serpentor Khan. He doesn't care. Nothing is going to get in his way of Destro's way.
Yep, he wants to get to Baroness, and he'll go through anybody to get there.
Now, one thing, do you remember in IDW when Larry experimented with the go-go gadget hands with Destro?
Vaguely. It's been a minute.
I'm glad Larry has let that go.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a different comment. Never mind. We'll talk after this.
I think we've covered that book, these 2 books. All right, you go first. 311. What do you rate it out of 5?
I mean, it's just a continuation of 310, which I gave a 4.25. I would go 4.5 on this one, just because I feel like it's just leading up to something that's going to be fantastic. And there's no letdown in either book. That is great. They did a fantastic job. I'm going 4.5.
All right. I'm at 4 3/4. I'm just been loving them,
Yeah.
And this one was near perfect. I don't think there's really, I don't know what it's missing. It's missing that last oomph. It's missing that seasoning, that sprinkle of something. but it's
So
just
I just bought it today when I got to go by the comic shop. So I read it because I knew what we were doing tonight, and the read was fantastic. I went back through and skimmed it a couple more times, and there's no wasted panels. I didn't come across any.
no.
It's just it just flows. It's so good.
So, well, I think that concludes tonight's discussion about G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero 310 and 311. Casey, as always, thanks for joining me. This has been the Chaplain Sisters Motor Pod. And probably get my script out. And that concludes this Missal for the Masses. This has been the Chaplain Sisters Motor Pod. Thank you for listening. The Chaplain Sisters Motor Pod is hosted by Spotify for Creators and is also found on many of the other popular podcatchers like Apple Podcasts and Good Pods. Please like, share, review, comment, or otherwise interact with your podcatchers or where you saw this, even YouTube, as we're streaming live now, finally, for the first time. And because it only helps and grow and improve. Wow. It only helps to improve and grow this podcast. For more Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod, you can find me on social media at Chaplain Joe Pod on Facebook, Instagram, or X, or YouTube. I haven't checked to see if this worked on the right account, but I hope so. Or you can also send an email to chaplainjoepod@gmail.com. Casey, where can the listeners find more of you?
You can find me and Eric and Matt doing our show on YouTube, Podcast from the Pit. We also release it on audio 3-4 days later for the people who still like listen to the podcast. They're appreciated as well.
That's me.
Yeah. No, I love doing the podcast. Podcast from day one. But doing like we're trying here, it's just a lot of fun. It adds something to it for me, and I think you're going to truly enjoy it. And just because it's easier to interact with other people, similar interests. So if you want to reach out to us, we're at Podcast from the Pit on Facebook, Instagram, X, and email is podcastfromthepit@gmail.com.
And don't forget, you have an awesome Facebook group as well. So
we do, yeah, active Facebook group. Lots of questions, lots of talk. We keep, like I said earlier, we keep everything light, and it's about the toys.
Yeah. So lastly, the Chaplain Sisters Motor Pod is the strange, but not estranged, nerdy little brother of the Pint, a pop culture podcast. And I don't say that because I hear the airplanes overhead. And with all that said and done, there's one final missile for the masses. Be decent to one another.
Take care, everybody.